Tennessee State Standard US.05 says to describe the changes in American life that resulted from the inventions and innovations of business leaders and entrepreneurs of the period, including the significance of Alexander Graham Bell, John D. Rockefeller, Henry Bessemer, Nikola Tesla, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, Thomas Edison, Madam C.J. Walker, and J.P. Morgan. The first of these inventors slash robber barons slash industrialists is Alexander Graham Bell. And Alexander Graham Bell is probably somebody that you've heard about since you were a little kid. The main thing that Alexander Graham Bell was most responsible for creating was the telephone. The telephone by Alexander Graham Bell was obviously a big leap forward in communication across the United States. And the telephone is, going to change the way America works because now it's going to enable this instant communication across the U.S. And the other thing that is just cool, and it's not really a super important fact about Alexander Graham Bell, but when Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, he really enjoyed like nautical terminology, like with boats and stuff. And so he believed that the correct way to answer the telephone was by using nautical lingo. And so he believed that whenever you answer the telephone, you should always answer with ahoy. And now, why he chose nautical terminology, I don't know. But maybe the next time someone calls you on the phone, just pick it up and go ahoy. And, you're sure to probably throw people off there. The next major inventor is Henry Bessemer. And Henry Bessemer, I just had to put this picture in here. Here he is over here, obviously. But I've always had this theory that he looks like the mayor from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I don't know why. I don't know what made me think of that. But the two guys look like eerily similar. But Bessemer is going to be one of your really most important inventors. And what he does is he creates what's called the Bessemer process. A very humble guy, named it after himself. But what the Bessemer process is, it's a process that is going to turn iron into steel. And steel is going to become the major building block that our country, especially during the Industrial Revolution, is built on. All right, so steel is building block for the U.S. And the reason steel is so important is steel is a lighter, more flexible metal. Like for instance, if you had like an iron beam, like let's say this purple beam right here, this is an iron beam. Whenever weight is put on top of this iron beam, so let's say we got weight being distributed here, iron will take the weight, but eventually it's going to break and it's going to crack and it's going to fall and it's going to be destroyed. And what's different is if you had a steel beam, which is what Bessemer created, this steel, when it takes weight, steel's different. And what this steel beam is going to do is it's going to bend and it's going to flex and it doesn't break. It can take so much more weight and it doesn't snap, it bends. And that's why steel becomes such a more important metal, because we can use it through construction because it's stronger and it's lighter. The next inventor is Nikola Tesla. And Nikola Tesla, as you can see over here on his picture, is a very interesting looking guy. And Tesla is not going to be as well known, at least during his time, as the other inventors we've talked about. But the biggest thing that he had to do is most of his work focused on electricity. So his work is going to focus on electricity. And, during his life, he made dozens of big breakthroughs in the production, transmission, and application of electric power. One of the biggest, most important things that he's known for is he invented the first AC motor. So he invented the first AC, and AC stands for alternating current motor. And he developed AC transmission technology. And what AC is, there's two types of currents in electricity. You have AC current and you have DC current. And most of his work was with AC current, being able to not only just create this power, but transmit this power to different locations. The next famous inventor, and this one I'm sure you've heard of, is Thomas Edison. And you really don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this guy because you can see right over here what his invention is. Thomas Edison is most famous for his light bulb invention. And the thing about the light bulb, we look at it today and you don't think much of it, but the light bulb changed the way America worked because now things can happen at night. All right, before this time period, once the sun went down, that was pretty much it. You went home and you went to bed. But because of the light bulb, the way America happens or the way America works changes. Like sporting events, any type of show, anything that goes on at night, it all relies on the light bulb. And this is a really important invention that transforms America. The next lady is Madam C.J. Walker. And Madam C.J. Walker, I think, is probably one of the most interesting of any of these inventors. She's not as well known as the other ones, but she's very, very important. And one thing about her is she's the first African American female millionaire. And how she achieves this, her product that she makes, is she creates a hair care system that is really about hair care for African American women. So hair care system for African American women. And her hair care system, its nickname, obviously after her, it was called the Walker system. And she was, like I said, insanely famous. She was insanely rich, and just her system, nothing had been done like this before. A mass-produced system that targeted just African American women for their hair. It was a huge system that changed the hair care industry for African American women. The next thing you've got after all of these inventors is you have this next group of people that are called robber barons. And robber barons they're not really inventors. They're going to be a little bit different what they do. So who robber barons are? Let's just put down that they are. Let's just put down they are big time business owners. And if you look at this picture over here, this picture really kind of shows you what most people thought about robber barons. If you look at the picture, okay, and there's a lot going on in this picture. But if you look up here, you've got the robber barons sitting up here. And these are the ones we're about to talk about. Jay Gould, this is Vanderbilt, Carnegie, Rockefeller, all these famous robber barons. And you can see the caption for this cartoon down here at the bottom. It says the protectors of our industries. And what's basically going on in this cartoon is if you look, these robber barons that are sitting up here at the top, they're sitting on loads of cash. You can see these big piles of cash that they're sitting on, but they're being supported by the workers down here at the bottom. The workers are having to bend and lift and work. And then up at the top is you have these guys who are just living this, posh, comfortable, high-dollar lifestyle, while everybody else down here at the bottom is braving the storm to be able to support these guys. So you can see from the get-go, this cartoon is really going to put a negative image of these robber barons. So John D. Rockefeller is the first robber baron that we're going to discuss. Rockefeller became a robber baron, this owner of this huge business, through his company that was called Standard Oil. And what each of these robber barons would try to do is they would each work hard to create what is called a monopoly. And what a monopoly is, make sure you know this, is it's when you dominate a particular industry. So what these monopolies try to do is they try to take over an industry so that there's only one option for what you can purchase in this industry. And the industry that he focused on was oil. Now, we're not just talking about like oil like for cars and stuff. We're talking about to light lamps and all these other purposes that it was used. But that's what he developed his monopoly for. And at the height of his power, he was the only oil supplier in the United States. So the thing that's crazy about that is it meant that he pretty much controlled the supply, and so he would set the prices. And you had to pay whatever he wanted for this oil, which is how these monopolies made so much money. And the other thing that's important about John D. Rockefeller is he created the first trust in American history. And what a trust is, it's another word for monopoly. But what's different about a trust is it's, the company is not owned by a single person. The company is owned through stocks and controlled by a board of directors. It's essentially the way every major company is run today. So that, Rockefeller per se didn't really own his company. The people owned his company who bought stocks. And so if the company failed or struggled, it wasn't Rockefeller that would hurt. It's the people that owned his stock. And it's just a safer way for a robber baron, a businessman, to divide up their company. The next famous robber baron is Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie is going to make his fortune. The company that he founds is Carnegie Steel. And like we already said, these robber barons are working to create monopolies. And these monopolies mean that they're able to control a particular industry, and they can make just ridiculous amounts of money in that industry. And Carnegie's industry was steel. And steel, as we already talked about with the Bessemer process, steel was becoming the building block for everything. So let's just put down steel was building block for everything. And what Carnegie was able to do is he was able to mass produce steel and to take out all of his competitors, and he was the only guy that made steel. And if you wanted steel, you had to go through Carnegie to get it. And the other thing that was genius about Carnegie that helped him make so much money is he invented what's called vertical integration. And what this is a way of creating your monopoly. And so what you do with vertical integration is for every stage of production for a product. So let's say his product has 4 different levels. Like level 1 is where you dig the steel out of the ground. Level 2 is where you take it to the factory. Level 3 is where you heat it up and you turn this iron into steel in level 4. But what he would do is he would purchase each level of the operation. So whenever they were mining the iron from the ground, he owned the mining company. Whenever they were turning or transporting the iron to the factory, he owned the transport companies. Whenever they were heating up to turn the iron into steel, he owned it. And whenever he was selling it, he owned the distribution. And so by owning all of these different levels, it means that you can produce stuff for so much cheaper because you're not paying a middleman. The next to the last robber baron is Cornelius Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, his nickname is going to be the Commodore. And the reason this was his nickname is he originally built his fortune with boats, and the commander of a boat is a Commodore. And what's cool about him is he made so much money, he actually donated the money for Vanderbilt University, which is why Vanderbilt University is nicknamed the Commodores. And if you look at it, their mascot down here kind of looks like Vanderbilt. They've got the sideburns going, and obviously Vanderbilt doesn't have the hat, but that's where Vanderbilt's namesake comes from. But what Vanderbilt did is the way he made his money is he had a monopoly on railroads. And at the height of his power, he controlled railroads into New York City, NYC, and Chicago. And by controlling the railroads leading to those 2 cities, he pretty much owned the cities. If you wanted to get into those 2 cities, you had to go through Vanderbilt. And there was one time where Vanderbilt got upset and took those cities for hostage and wouldn't let anybody in or out of those cities. You want to talk about power? You take New York City and Chicago hostage legally, you've got a lot of power. And Cornelius Vanderbilt, the Commodore, had crazy amounts of power. The last of our robber barons is the one who's probably not really a robber baron, but he's also probably one of the richest ones of all these guys, is J.P. Morgan. And J.P. Morgan is going to make his money a little bit differently. J.P. Morgan made his money through what are called mergers. And what a merger is, that's where 2 companies they combine to make a bigger third company. So what he did is he organized these mergers, and he made crazy money off of creating these mergers. The companies that he made, there are 3 of them that still survive today. The first one is GE, General Electric. They make all kinds of appliances and different technological things today. The next one that he created is International Harvester. Which is a tractor company that is very popular and still very important today. And the third company that he created was U.S. Steel, which is still a huge steel company, not still a huge steel company, but still an important steel company in Pittsburgh. And the Pittsburgh Steelers actually took their logo from the company U.S. Steel. But these mergers are going to be what makes Vanderbilt so powerful. And at one point, he had so much money, a little dollar bill here for him, that the U.S. government had to ask Vanderbilt for a loan because they were running out of money. So you know when the government of the United States calls you up and asks for a loan, that's when you know that you have arrived because you're insanely, insanely rich. And Cornelius Vanderbilt was absolutely insanely, insanely rich.